Erin, nearly 24 countries had applied to join the BRICS club. Tell us a bit more about these 6 that have been officially invited.
Yes, well, a significant development for BRICS today here in Johannesburg, South Africa, more than double its membership, and set to engage with these new parties to the group. They will begin their official membership on the 1st of January 2024. President Cyril Ramaphosa looking chuffed as cheese as he closed off the address from the heads of state this morning. And it's really interesting to see the dominance of what I'm calling an oil bloc, and also 2 African nations amongst those 6 new states. Of course, Argentina representing the new member from South America to join from early 2024. All this tying in with the rhetoric around a new world order. And almost 50% of the world's population will be represented by the new bigger groups party. Who knows what the new acronym will be? It may get to a point where it's impossible to have an acronym using countries' first letters if membership does increase in future. We heard, for example, from the likes of Brazil's La Silva that categories and a process around adding even more members to the group in time will come up. We also know that deliberations around what and who could join, what are the requirements and who could join this year, led to protracted talks late into the night. But for more analysis on this, I'm joined now by our guest, who is from the Sire of South Africa. Just please, sir, introduce yourself and give us some of your comments on the new group.
I'm Gustavo de Carvalho. So it's been an interesting moment, and we've seen in the last couple of months already a lot of dynamics within the group in terms of the interest about the new countries. I think the 6 new countries, to a certain degree, have a connection with a lot of the existing members. We know South Africa was pushing a lot for more African member states, and they eventually got 2 with Ethiopia and Egypt. Until late last night, the rumors had been that it was only Egypt that was going to join, and we saw this morning that Ethiopia was also joining. Brazil was very skeptical for a number of days, and it seems that the joining of Argentina, the invitation to Argentina, had a lot to do with the fact that Brazil eventually accepted that expansion and brought back consensus. And of course, we have Saudi Arabia, UAE, and Iran joining as well, an important space, particularly in terms of the discussions around trade and the use of local currency and the increase of liquidity that these countries are expecting. At the moment, it's really hard for us to, if I buy something with South African rands, it's very hard for me to utilize that currency in some other place. So using countries that have a lot of liquidity, that have a lot of trade amongst themselves, noting that China and India are some of the major importers of gas and oil, both from the UAE and from Saudi Arabia, and from Iran as well, for that matter, and particularly when it comes to Russia in that regard, issues about logistics, trade, and the new corridor, north-south corridor between Russia and Iran coming up.
Certainly interesting to see President Vladimir Putin giving a special nod to Cyril Ramaphosa in his remarks this morning, speaking about masterful diplomacy and some of the difficulties around these negotiations for new members. There was talk about Indonesia at some point joining. We don't see that, but as you say, if you were to pin these new members on a map, it's a pretty wide spread globally, north and south.
Absolutely, and I think these are countries that to a certain degree bring back to the main objectives of BRICS, is the idea how this group would be able to enhance the ability of BRICS members to trade, to reduce their need to a certain degree. It's not to replace the US dollar, but to complement to a large degree, particularly when they trade amongst themselves. It is important to notice that ministries of finance and governors of central banks will be discussing in the next year, and the final decision when it comes to issues on the issue of currencies, a lot of division around that, but particularly trade and payment systems will be finally decided in the BRICS summit in Russia in 2024.
All right. Leave it there. Of course, the issue of international global transactions and how they're affected, an important issue at the summit. That was